Hi, we're Group 3, and we are presenting Chapter 8, Good Letters, Neutral, and Bad Letters. There are 3 things that we hope you take away from learning Chapter 8. The first one is how to write a good newsletter. The second one, how to write a neutral letter. And lastly, how to write a bad newsletter.
Starting off with good newsletters. So, what are good newsletters? A good newsletter is usually the best type of letter to both receive and send because it typically includes good news for the receiver. With good newsletters, the topic of interest is positive, which makes it usually an easy type of letter to both write and send. Furthermore, good newsletters are typically easy to read and understand. Your letter relaying good news should be precise and to the point. Your reader should not be struggling to grasp the actual news of the letter after reading it. Steps for writing good news letters. First, state the good news first. Next, give the particulars, and then end on a friendly note. The layout of a good newsletter also helps to convey the subject. Good news will typically be displayed in the first paragraph in order to be clear and concise. Next, give the particulars. Be sure to include everything that pertains to the topic of interest so that there is little to no confusion. Lastly, be sure to end your letter on a friendly note. This should not be too difficult when the content of your letter is also positive. More on putting the good news first. It is also important to put the good news in the beginning of your letter because it makes it much easier on your recipient to decipher the letter, who might get a lot of emails or letters. Putting the good news at the beginning of your letter will effectively allow your reader to be able to skim the letter fast in order to get to the point. This will make for increased productivity for the recipient so they don't have to spend 10 minutes reading the email just to understand its full context. So, for an example letter of a good newsletter, we have Dear Miss Jones, subject, agreeing to your request. After some consideration, Hotels Incorporated is happy to have you visit our NYC location from August the 14th through the 17th. Please visit our website to further sign in and secure your spot for the requested days. Your approval code is NYC 1417. Please let us know if you have further questions. Sincerely, Emma Lavoie. This example letter does a great job of stating the good news in the first paragraph. Then it gives the particulars like the approval code and telling the recipient to sign in. And lastly, it ends with a friendly note. And for our second and last example of a good newsletter, we have Dear Miss Smith, subject, interview follow-up. Red Robin Flint is excited to announce that we would love to have you as a member of our team. Overall, you have effectively displayed your strengths in your interview, and we believe that your skills would be a great addition to our current staff. Please let us know if you have any questions or concerns before deciding on our offer. Sincerely, Emma Lavoie. As with the last letter, this letter also does a good job of stating the good news first, then giving the particulars, and ending with a friendly note.
Neutral letters are used to deliver facts. Often, they may be used to request products or information. When it comes to writing a neutral letter, the first thing that you want to do is provide the neutral news. After the news, you will follow with the details. Then you will end with a courteous note. In example 1, your cable provider may send a letter announcing that they are changing their channels. This news may not matter to you as long as your favorite channel is still available. Nonetheless, it's important that the cable company keeps their message short and sweet, or you may end up tossing it. And if you ended up tossing it, it could result in a less than neutral feeling when you end up recording the wrong show by mistake. In example 2, placing an order or making a routine request for action. So suppose you are sending an email inquiry about a replacement part for your rowing machine. It is best to provide as much information as possible in your request. The first paragraph of your letter should start out like this. I would like to place an order for a handle, part number 2578H, for the Obsidian Surge rowing machine. You would follow this with details on where you want the part sent, your method of payment, and any additional contact information. Sending a message that lacks information can cause an inconvenience for the recipient. So it is important that you provide as many details as possible in the first correspondence. If not, the recipient may have to reach out again, causing a hassle for them as well as you. Next, we're going to go to bad letters with Jessica.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for all of that great info on neutral letters. Now, we will be moving on to bad newsletters. As much as we wish we could avoid bad newsletters altogether, sometimes we just don't get that lucky. Neutral and good newsletters may seem a bit easier to write, but thankfully, bad newsletters follow a similar format, which we will discuss soon. Keeping customers happy. In order to keep customers loyal to your company, you generally want to avoid using the word no. When there are times that you must refuse a certain request, you want to do it in the most pleasant way possible. When delivering bad news to someone, generally they're not going to be happy about it. They're going to be upset or maybe even annoyed that you can't fulfill their request. For example, if a customer requests a refund for a product and you can't refund them for a specific reason, they may not take that news well. This is where bad newsletters can come in handy. Purpose of a bad newsletter. The purpose of a bad newsletter is to deliver unfortunate news to a customer while treating them with respect in hopes of increasing the chances of keeping them as our customers. They can often soften the blow when delivering news that isn't always easy to hear. There are 5 parts that make up a bad newsletter. 1. Establish common ground. 2. State clearly what the client is asking for. 3. Give sufficient details. 4. Offer a substitution. And 5. End your letter kindly and professionally. So basically, using this 5-part list, you're going to compose your bad newsletter into 5 paragraphs. Each of these paragraphs are going to be covering each of those points. But before all of that, you still want to start with your subject and who you're addressing your letter to, and ending your letter with a proper closing salutation. Establish common ground. In your introductory paragraph, you want to make sure that your first statement is going to be something that your client or your customer will agree with. In this part of your letter, you do not want to say anything like yes or no. You want to start with a more neutral standing to avoid any unnecessary conflict. This could include something that your company is proud of and something that the customer may appreciate about your company. State clearly what the client is asking for. If the customer or client is asking for something in particular, this is where you want to reaffirm what it is that they are requesting. For example, They could be asking for a refund for a defective product, maybe store credit, or maybe a replacement of that requested item. Give sufficient details. This is where you want to give enough details so the person you are writing to will understand that you cannot do what it is that they were requesting, but without directly saying no. You have to be careful not to fall back to an apology or use the excuse because of company policy. Continue on in your letter with consistent positivity and refrain from using any form of negative phrasing. Offer a substitution. If there's anything that could be a good alternative to what they are requesting, try offering it to the customer. Here could be some useful examples: a refund, a different product, store credit, or even a discount. End your letter kindly and professionally. End your bad newsletter on a kind, positive, and respectful note. If you are kindly declining what they are asking for with a good reason, there is no need to apologize. Again, this would be your fifth and final paragraph, so make sure it comes to a solid conclusion. Always remember to avoid using these words and phrases when constructing your bad news letters. We are sorry, or apologizing in any way. Unfortunately, no, and using the company policy excuse. Bad newsletters are not always an option. There will be situations in your career where you will be forced to say no, but that does not necessarily mean that you will be losing yourself a customer. In these situations, you can still say no, but you should try for a more indirect approach. Create a buffer. This would be an example of an indirect refusal. Alex asks Jackie, "Will you go out on a date with me this Friday?" Where Jackie may respond, "It sounds like it could be fun, but I am already going to my friend's birthday party on Friday, and my weekend is already pretty filled." In this case, Jackie declined, with being as polite as possible, but not giving him much room to work with, in hopes of Alex realizing that she is not really interested. This is another example of a buffer, but this would be considered a direct refusal. A charity organization asked your small business for a cash donation, but your company can't afford to contribute. You may say, "I'm sorry, Joe, but our business is still growing, so we can't afford to contribute this year." With this refusal, you can offer an alternative. "Maybe I can contribute to your charity next year." So now that you've heard a lot about bad news letters, you'll be listening to Quiyasha with some more in-depth examples of neutral, good news letters, and bad news letters.
The next few slides give examples of good news, bad news, and neutral news letters. As I read the letters, try going through and labeling each important part of the letter. Beginning with the good news letter example. Dear Miss Elizabeth Keeler, subject, Winter 2022 admissions. Congratulations, Ms. Keeler. It is with great pleasure to inform you of your acceptance into the University of Michigan Flint Winter 2022 semester. In this welcoming packet, you will find all the details to begin your higher education journey. Please enter the student website with the login information provided to begin your registration. New student orientation will be December 10th through 12th, 2021. Students must attend orientation to be eligible for the upcoming semester. We are so excited for you to join our university. Go Blue. Yours sincerely, Dr. Quiyasha Jones, President, University of Michigan, Flint. The next two slides give an example of a bad news letter. Dear Miss Emma Lavoie, subject, request for roommate change. We know living in a dorm during college is a great rite of passage, getting to know your peers and enjoying your college experience. We have received your request to switch your roommate assignment. Unfortunately, we do not have any other students willing to switch their roommate. Dorm policy does not allow us to force a student to switch their roommate. Our policy also does not allow us to forcefully remove a student from their room unless someone's safety is in danger. Next semester, if you would like to switch roommates, you can do so at the beginning of the semester. Also, you have the option to choose a single room without a roommate. Our university creates the best graduates. We know you will add to this group. Go Blue. Yours sincerely, Yolanda Williams. This slide provides an example of a neutral newsletter. Dear Miss Jessica Lamoureux, new high-speed internet deals available now. Here at Spectrum, we are now offering faster high-speed internet than ever before. You can increase your internet speed by 100 megabytes today. No additional equipment needed. Upgrading your internet service by calling us today at 1-800-452-3475. We thank you for being a valuable customer here at Spectrum. Thank you, your Spectrum customer representative. After reading all the letters, try to see if errors were made or were there things that could be improved upon. Maybe even try writing your own examples of each letter.